For years, I thought my work began with an idea. I'd sit down and ask myself, what should I make this week? Maybe it would be a podcast, maybe a YouTube video, maybe something I'd write. The question was always the same. What should I create? A little while ago, I realized something. I don't ask that question anymore. Not because I decided to stop creating content, it just disappeared. And I became curious about why. The more I pay attention, the more I realized that the pieces of work that have mattered most in my life never actually began as ideas. They began as recognitions. One of those recognitions came recently. I noticed that I was still talking about looking for my life's work. I'd say things like, I'm still figuring it out, or I think I'm getting closer. Then one day, it hit me. I wasn't looking anymore. I hadn't been for quite some time. I'd been quietly living it. The work wasn't waiting somewhere in the future. I was the one standing outside it. And when I looked a little more closely, I realized why. Part of me still believed that my work had to become more significant, more lasting, more widely known, more financially successful, more enough. I thought I needed to create something worthy before I could fully inhabit what was already here. That recognition changed something in me. And then I started looking back over the years. I realized this wasn't the first time something like that had happened. Years ago, I believed healing happened because something was done. You found the right root cause, the right protocol, the right treatment, the right explanation. Then I began witnessing moments where healing emerged when no one was trying to force it, when someone simply felt safe enough to remain with what is true. Another belief quietly fell away. Then something else. For a long time, I believed that love expressed itself by fixing. If someone I cared about was hurting, my instinct was to solve it, to make it better, to remove the pain. Eventually, I realized something I never expected. Sometimes fixing wasn't an expression of love at all. Sometimes it was an expression of my own discomfort with another person's suffering. What actually served them wasn't another solution. It was my willingness to remain present, to trust that they weren't broken, that they already possessed a capacity I didn't need to give them. Looking back now, I see that none of those were topics. None of them began with, I should make a video about this. They began with a recognition. And I've come to think a recognition is very different from an idea. An idea is something you think. A recognition is something you can no longer unsee. Once it happens, reality reorganizes around it. You don't adopt a new belief. an old one quietly falls away. I've started trusting that process. So I don't really begin with content anymore. I begin by paying attention. I pay attention to what has become impossible for me to keep believing. And then I wait. Sometimes nothing comes. Sometimes a conversation comes. Sometimes a piece of writing. Sometimes a video like this. I don't know exactly where this way of working will lead, but I do know it feels more honest. Less like trying to produce something, and more like bearing witness to something that has already become true. And maybe that's why I wanted to share this with you. Not because I think everyone should create this way, more because I wonder if you've experienced something similar. Maybe not in your work, maybe in a relationship, or the way you see yourself, or the way you understand love. Maybe there's something you've quietly known for a long time, but you've still been speaking about it as though it belongs somewhere in the future. Maybe you've been waiting for more certainty, more recognition, more evidence that it's real. And I understand that. I spent years there. But I'm beginning to wonder if the things that matter most don't arrive when we're finally ready. Maybe they begin to live through us the moment we stop asking the world to confirm what we've already recognized. So I don't think my work begins with creating anymore. It begins with returning to what has always been true. And if that return eventually becomes a conversation, or a piece of writing, or a video like this, then perhaps the content was never the work. Perhaps it was simply one expression of the return.